Emily, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. We have just a few minutes here, so I'll try to kind of hurry through just a couple of comments, but I really want you to hear from Tim, who's got a really interesting perch and perspective on the topic that we've been talking about, which is the intersection of higher education and the business community. First of all, just 15 seconds on Business Higher Education Forum. We are an organization of college presidents and chief executives which collaborate to bring higher education solutions to workforce needs. That's what we are at BHEF. You heard Eduardo Patron earlier, who is a member of our group. And today, PwC and BHEF are releasing a joint report on the data science workforce, which you all should get a copy on. It's on our website as well, but it's really a really interesting and precise piece of work, which I think you'd find interesting. So Tim, I'm going to just start with just sort of at a pretty high altitude. And first of all, thank you for being here, and thanks for being part of this effort. When you think about this at a sort of from a broad base, how do you see, from your perch, which is a really interesting one, how do you see the intersection between higher education and the business community in terms of the job outlook? And as part of that, if you could talk about not only that situation today, but perhaps in the next 5 or 10 years as we sort of look forward.
Sure. Thanks, Peter. Good to be here, everybody. So first thing I would tell you is we see a great opportunity. So I was listening to some of the early panels, and while I agree there's challenges, we see a tremendous opportunity because for young people entering the workforce, there's never been more of a time to be relevant. And every job is changing. And we don't see jobs going away. We see jobs being reimagined in very different ways. And whether that be accounting, taxation, consulting, marketing, human capital, jobs are being reimagined. So the opportunity for business and higher education to partner and take advantage of this opportunity and give these young professionals opportunities they never had before is greater than ever. So while things will change, the opportunity to make a difference and help people take advantage of that is greater than ever. And I think that's what the study shows.
One of the topics that came up earlier was really interesting, which Catherine mentioned, which was diversity. Can you talk a little bit about how you see a diverse workforce kind of touching this matter?
So one thing, just personal passion. So that's been a big focus of our firm, big focus of mine personally over the last year or so in terms of getting more Fortune 500 companies involved at not only making it their opportunity to improve, but raising the game for everybody. And you look at the intersection of data sciences, there's more of an opportunity ever to do that. We all know it's well documented that women and racial diversity in tech is woefully inadequate. But it's a great opportunity for the business and higher ed community to come together to make sure we create opportunities to do that. We do that through partnership, we do that through affordability, and we do that through opportunities for people to come together and leverage the ecosystem, higher ed, business, and the communities to give additional opportunities. Mm-hmm.
And what can we all be doing? I mean, we're all coming at this issue from a little bit of a different angle. What would you say are the 2 or 3 things that we can do to really create solutions in higher education to meet workforce needs?
I think there's a couple of things that need to happen, and they are happening because the reality is where business is going to go where the opportunities are. And working with higher education institutions is to develop specific skill set programs that meet their needs coming in. So for example, working with various institutions, so PwC, we have a partnership with Carnegie Mellon, and a big part of our business is regulatory and risk and consulting. And we're partnering with Carnegie Mellon to develop a program where you use data analytics, data visualization to provide greater oversight of risk and regulatory. As organizations have other opportunities, they'll work with higher ed to develop opportunities to meet their needs. So there's that partnership opportunity. So that's opportunity number 1. The second opportunity is to embed data analytics, data visualization, data sciences into every job. And to make sure that when you have majors, you have it embedded, because that's what we see happening. So for example, financial services or healthcare, technology is embedding in that. So it's business working with higher ed to embed it into their curriculum as opposed to have a specialist. So 2 panelists earlier We talked about the fact that it's not just about having a STEM degree, it's about having STEM in marketing or STEM in healthcare. So the second opportunity is to integrate. The third one, in an opportunity that, for example, at Drake University, where every major also has the opportunity to take a minor in data sciences, and because it is embedded in every area. So the opportunity is all three of those, Peter, to again raise the game and take advantage of that goal for growth out there.
Mm-hmm. And how do you, as an organization, I mean, I want to talk in a minute about what you all are doing specifically, which is really incredible. But before we get to that, I mean, you hire 8,000 to 10,000 people a year. You have 100, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people in your organization, but how do you see this as an organization?
So I think what's important to point out is there's getting the right folks into the workforce, and that's working with higher ed. But as leading employers, we also have the responsibility to adapt our workforce. And so, for example, at PwC, we bring in over 8,000 people a year off campus here in the United States. We'll hit 50,000 people for the first time this year, and the average age is roughly 28. If we're not willing to adapt to make sure that people coming to our organization can be successful, then we won't retain that talent. And a big part of what we do is we change our work environment, we change our culture. So what do I mean? What I mean by that is after we compete really hard on campus to bring these folks in, we have to be willing to make sure they can succeed, which means the way we evaluate, the way we let them work, the way we let people practice their honed skill in a different flexible environment is critically important. So we're not only changing the people we hire, the types of people we hire, we're also changing the way we work. So we do a lot more work remotely. We have an incredibly high culture of flexibility where people can work when they want and how they want to work. In addition to that, we're also investing in our existing workforce, because what we don't want to do is have people come in highly energized, highly innovative with the right skill sets and then hit a wall when they come in, frankly, with people who have been there for a while. So a big part of our strategy is also to invest in our existing workforce to make sure they get more comfortable with the tools that are out there as well. And that creates the opportunity when we win the war for talent off campus, they can succeed when they come there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you know, there's so many things that we're all involved in different ways, where you have two groups of people who don't necessarily want to come together in the same way. I mean, here, there is that desire, for sure, between these two communities. I mean, Dane mentioned earlier, Dane from the BRT on an earlier panel mentioned the intersection between the University of Maryland and Northrop Grumman Corporation, which has really been a remarkable partnership, which I can say this because I had nothing to do with it. The BHEF really was at the center of sort of coordinating. But it's that kind of dynamic that I think is so critical.
So I think that's right. Just to build off of that, the reality is where there's growth opportunities, businesses are going to invest. And we see a number of universities across the country who are willing to adapt their curriculum to meet business needs. And one of the things that the study shows, it's not just about degrees, it is about skill sets. And we see more and more partnership between business and universities to meet the growing skill set needs that are out there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about PwC and what you specifically are doing in this area?
So thank you for that. So we have invested quite a bit over the last decade in talent development, which is the lifeblood of our business. It's how we meet our clients' needs, and equally important, it's how we meet our purpose statement, which at PwC, it's building trust in society and solving important problems. We just wrapped up a 5-year initiative around financial literacy, which is over 3 million hours and over $100 million investment. What we're announcing today is the next generation of that, and we call it Access Your Potential. And it's a 5-year, $320 million commitment that's targeted at the following. First, it's continued journey on financial literacy, and given the topic of today, it's also to raise tech skills of the students in our country. And we're partnering with a number of other people in our ecosystem to raise the game and educate 10 million students, to educate 100 educators, because the topic up here earlier was how do you continue to help teachers stay current, and also it's to get 10,000 kids ready for colleges to go after the careers that they choose. So it's a major commitment in terms of A, how do we actually take advantage of the opportunity to help society, which in turn will help business meet the growing needs of their customers. So we're very excited about it. And one of the things that's really interesting about it is what we have found is the more our people can engage in being part of the solution to this great opportunity, the more they feel like they're part of the solution, more engaged, better performance, higher retention. And so it's something we're really excited about over the next 5 years.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of us, because it's a great initiative, and congratulations on launching that today.
Thank you.
Emily, I think we're going to keep exactly on time here, and so we appreciate it. I guess we could have a question if you want, but otherwise we'd thank you very much.
Thank you.